Hello everyone, this is Marshall Official. We are finally back again with another Russo Ukrainian war update. It's been a couple days, I know. I haven't been updating for the last couple of days, and that's just simply because I've been way too busy. Like 6 in the morning to like 3 a.m. Like that kind of busy. But I'm finally back once again to make another update. We're gonna get right on into it. We have lots of updates. It's gonna be a bit of a longer video. Just warning you guys, it will be a bit longer because we have a lot of changes over the last like what 4 days, something like that. First one, we have a small Ukrainian advance up here. The Ukrainian forces have taken this tree line right outside of Obakovka, right here. Uh, the Ukrainian presence here remains quite small and fairly insignificant. It's unsure what Ukraine's hoping to achieve here. It still looks like the Ukrainians are just trying to distract the Russians from their counterattacks here on the main front, because it's clear that the Ukrainians don't have a very strong presence here, or the Russians are just also, or the Russians might just have a strong presence. So there's no changes. There's no clear attempt by the Russians to push the Ukrainians out of this small little territory. So it's probably a fairly minor operation. This is probably fairly minor, but there is a Ukrainian advancement here. Let's move on to the main Kars front. We have another small Ukrainian advance right here. Again, capture the tree line. It's continue. Just some minor stuff. Nothing really that big to talk about. They're trying to get into the town of Kamyshevka. They have not been able to yet. They are just outside of it. But again, there are still, even now, as Russia is pushing them back, there are still some Ukrainian gains here and there that they're trying to make. But we do have much bigger gains down here by the Russians. Russian forces have been able to completely push back the Ukrainians from the outskirts of Borky. They are now on the outskirts of Plekovo. And in general, it looks like the Russian forces are trying to, they will probably try to capture all the ground to the east of the Sel River. So here's, just to mark this out, here's the river right here. Like that. So the Russian force will probably try to capture all of this right here by simply, advancing this way. After that, they will probably most likely either stop or they may very well continue their offensive this way, getting behind Sudzha to try and force the Ukrainians out while at the same time they continue their offensive this way. They may also try to attempt to change their directions and push straight for Sudzha itself this way and this way along the R200 road, and we'll try to push Ukrainians out of these important villages right here. That's Russia's goal for this front. And now they have managed to advance fairly significantly down here. Moving on to the Vovchansk front, we do actually have a gain here. We also have a geolocation, so that geolocation will be on screen right now. In the Vovchansk, we can see here how the Ukrainians have been able to retake the aggregate plant, I believe it's called. This is confirmed by the footage you're seeing. This is Russian forces shelling the aggregate plant, which confirms that at some point, it might have been recently or a few weeks ago, who knows, the Ukrainians were able to retake the aggregate plant from the Russian forces. About 80% of Vovchansk is under Ukrainian control at this point, and it's a small little change, but a fairly significant one. But overall, this front continues to remain extremely static and just not moving. Let's move on to the next front. On the Kupyansk front, we don't have any specific changes here, but down here in Peshane, we have two Russian advancements over the last couple of days. First, they had first advanced along this tree line. Whoops, wrong color. They first advanced along this tree line like this, and they also advanced downward like this, capturing these tree lines right here. They then pushed down towards this road right here. So they managed to capture this block, and from here, Russian forces appear to be trying to expand their front line to the north and south like this, so they can then push straight for Krylyakivka, I believe it's called. They're trying to, so they can push onto it and reach the Osil River, which is back here, somewhere back there. So that's what's the goal for this front. And again, these are still minor advancements. We will get to the major stuff as we move further south. But this is still fairly minor, but it's big, but it is significant at the same time. Okay, here we have one little small advance. Russian forces have been able to cross over. They've been able to take pretty much the last little bit of Makiivka, and it's not much left. They've taken this last little chunk, and that's pretty much the whole village. Like at this point, except for unless you consider this area to be part of the village, that's pretty much the whole village. The only thing that's left is this area, which is separated from the rest of it. So this area right here is what Russia still needs to capture. before they can declare the whole village under their control. But we have a significant Russian advancement from a few days ago, and I predicted this, man. In my last video, I said they stormed this part of Nevsky, and they were going to push north and south from Avdiivka to capture this area. And I was 100% right. Dr. Force able to completely capture all ground east of the Zherbryets River. So all the territory is now under Russian control, so we can start looking at, now that the Russian forces have been able to hold up this front, they're going to start pushing westward. Possibly now they might make a big push. Russian forces are starting to push up here, so we'll see what happens. But they might make a major push here towards the Osceola River. So we'll see what happens. But this is getting more significant fairly rapidly. All right, moving down, we have nothing from the Chasiv Yar front. There's just nothing to talk about. We have some minor news from Toretsk. The Russian forces have been able to capture this Terrakon right here. They've been able to capture that. They're trying to force the Ukrainians to leave this forested area and pull back towards residential areas by advancing here and also this way to force the Ukrainians to pull back from this forested area and retreat. But the Russian forces have managed to also gain ground along the city center, these high-rise buildings. They've been able to capture another city block right here. They're just continuing to barrel their way straight through, straight from the east to the west, moving this way to capture all these high-rise buildings, and from there they'll simply expand outward in all directions to capture the rest of the city, which will be fairly much easier to take over, because the rest of the city is mostly residential areas, like the northern area, but there are these Terrakons which will be difficult to capture, but Russia's been pretty much proven themselves to be quite capable of doing that. They've been capturing lots of Terrakons on the Pokrovsk front, so we'll see what happens next. But it's fairly minor, but it's significant at the same time. So we'll see what happens on this front. But let's move on to, now let's start into the big stuff. This is the much bigger stuff. Starting up here, we have here Russian forces have been able to recapture Krasny Yar and most of Mykolaiivka. They just need to capture this little part right here. If they can capture this, they will have pretty much undone all their gains that they lost, and they will be back to where they were, just over a mile from answering Mirograd itself. So Russian forces have almost completely undone the Ukrainian gains that they made in their counterattack a couple weeks ago. So the Ukrainian forces are just holding on to the most western outskirts of Makiivka. But again, Russian forces, once they capture this, it's over. Russian forces were attacking this way, and they also advanced up this way. That's how they were able to do this. So they hit the Ukrainians from head on and from the flanks, undoing their gains. That's how this happened. Let us now move on to other parts of the front. And here we have another geolocation right here. And the Russian forces have been able to capture the Terrakon that is right here. And they then expanded their control, capturing these treelands and fields right here. And they've reached the railway. It seems to be, and as I said, Russian forces have now reached this railway, so they're probably going to start moving south and north. So Russian forces, now that they've reached this railway, they're going to push this way, down south along this railway, and they're going to push north this way, like that. And they might push west, but they're going to follow the railway. And the goal with that is going to be, the Russian forces, their goal with this is that they can take this railway, they can follow the railway all the way to Pokrovsk. So we have a railway here, like this, leading all the way to Pokrovsk, straight into it. Railway right here, leading into it. There's a road here that leads to Mirograd that will then lead over to Pokrovsk. There's also several branches of this railway. There's one here that goes into the city. There's an extra one back here that if they can cross these fields and reach this railway, they'll be able to follow that one into the city as well. There's also like a little part of it like right here somewhere. I can't really see it from this far back, but you can see how these railways, the Russian forces, they love to follow the railways, and these railways are going to allow them to converge onto Pokrovsk from all directions. They will first need to capture Seladove, however. Seladove must fall before the Russian forces can do that. So we can see how the Ukrainian forces are slowly being pushed into a trap stuck inside of Pokrovsk right here. So we're going to see what happens, but the Russian forces are pushing onto Pokrovsk as we speak. It is getting more significant. It is not looking good for the Ukrainians on this front. And their small little contact that they made is already being completely undone. So we'll see what happens, but this is the situation of this front at this moment. Alright, moving on to south of Seladove, we have more Russian advancements, some small advances again, the fields and the tree lines right here. pushing again towards the railway, just like before, and also trying to advance onto Sokurine. Which of course it's a fairly minor advance, but at the same time they are threatening this village, and if they capture this village, this will be their largest obstacle standing in their way on their way to reaching the Volta River. If they can capture this, then the rest of it will be fairly easy to capture moving along this railway towards the Volta River. We also have we have two geolocations from Hernik right here. One of them is like a bombing. The other one is them raising the flag over this part of the city right here. And then at the same time, our forces have also managed to capture Zeleny Druhe. This is confirmed by Syriac maps. And they've also been able to they've also pushed into and captured a lot of this gray zone. They've actually reached, the Ukrainian forces have been forced to retreat from their defenses along this road, because the Russian forces have now reached up and captured that road. So the Ukrainian forces are falling back. It looks like the Ukrainian forces are going to escape the attempted encirclement of their forces. Remember, the Ukrainians used to be way over here in Novelsky, right way over here. When this encirclement started to happen, now the Ukrainian forces have pulled back, and it looks like they are going to escape being encircled right here. But the chances of them being encircled here is still very real, because the Ukrainians might not retreat from these cities in time to save their forces. So we'll see what happens. But it looks like the Ukrainians are going to escape the encirclement happening back here. But over here, still very much so in a possibility. All right, let's move on further south once again. Now, here's the major stuff. This is the major stuff that has happened over the last couple of days. Strongville has a little advancement right here, just a small little advancement. Our forces captured this tree line right here. So not much, not a big deal, but they are slowly advancing onto Kateryivka. Very slowly. It's a push, but it's a minor one. So it's going very slowly, but it is happening. Starting off here, we have a geolocation. Russian forces have been able to capture the entire coal mine right here. They've been able to force the Ukrainians to completely pull out of it, which is not good for the Ukrainians, because there's nothing for them to fall back to after this coal mine. The only thing they have is this, whatever this is right here. After that, the only area they have to fall back to will be way back here in Bohoyavlenka. So the Russian forces have also made major gains capturing this area right here. They've been able to capture this part of this coal mine right here. This, I think, looks like a Terracon. They've been able to capture that. They've majorly advanced capturing this entire eastern part of the city. They've also completed the capture of this Dacha area right here. They've completed the capture of that. They've also captured this tree line all the way in this road, leading all the way up to Vuhledar, and they've now entered and captured all of eastern Vuhledar is under full Russian control, and also they've managed to advance majorly here to the west. So we can see here, the Russian forces are putting major pressure on the Ukrainians. Actually, I need to zoom out even more. They're distracting the Ukrainians up here to push towards Kateryivka. They are pushing towards Bohoyavlenka already by capturing the coal mine. And at the same time, they're trying to encircle Vuhledar right here, and they are close. They are close to encircling. Let's check this out. Right here. Russian forces are 1.5 miles away from completely encircling the city entirely, and the Ukrainians are sort of trying to retreat, but they're also holding their ground at the same time. The Ukrainians, they're even holding on to this territory down here. They have retreated from these areas down here, but they're still trying to hold on to this area right here. So they're retreating, but too slowly. They need to, at this point, it's flee or die. And the Ukrainians, they're just not doing it. They're standing their ground. They're trying to, at least. And if they are retreating, they're trying to be slow and methodical about it. Like, we're going to retreat to this building, then this one, then this one, then this one. And it's these geolocations. One of the geolocations I saw, I'm not sure if I'll put it on here, but it shows how the city was just being bombed to pieces. It's not big. Vuhledar is not very big, but it's all high-rise buildings, and it stands out way over all these fields around. This is why it was so hard for us to capture this. And it's pretty, you can see now, it is game over for Vuhledar will fall. It is over for Vuhledar. What Ukraine needs to focus on now is, what are they going to do about this front? Because when Vuhledar falls, there's just nothing. It's open, wide open fields everywhere. The Russian forces will be able to advance all the way towards the road that leads to between Kurakhove and Vlhledar. This is the doesn't tell me, so I can't tell you what the road is called. But the road is here, and it leads from all the way from Vlhledar all the way towards Kurakhove. The Russian forces will be able to sever this road and then push this way and push this way to Kurakhove and Vlhledar. And if you match this with a push from here and a push south from this direction to encircle the Ukrainians, you can already see how this is already falling to pieces for the Ukrainians. And there's a lot of opportunities for Russian forces to capture these areas and encircle the Ukrainians. This is an encirclement fantastical plan, if you will, if you want to call it that, because Russian forces, they're trying to trap the Ukrainians in several areas. One of them is here. They've already done it, basically already done it down here and here, by pushing onto these areas and by reaching this road and going this way, and then obviously you can push onto Avdiivka back here. So, seeing here, the Russian forces are clearly okay, like I said, it's over for Vuhledar. Vuhledar will fall. It's already over for Vuhledar. The Ukrainians can try to hold on to it, and it's just going to get them killed. They need to pull out with it. They waited too long. It was already over before this point, but now it's the point of like, we're going to lose 80% of our men retreating, but it's either 80% or 100%. Please choose. And Vuhledar, the reason why this is also significant for the Ukrainians is because Ukraine is already, they're just so tired and tied up. This whole southern part of Donetsk is really starting to fall to pieces, clearly, as you can see here. And Russian forces are pushing. It started off in just Avdiivka, right here. Then it became Ocheretine, then Prorez, and then Kharkivka, and then all these areas, they just kept on spinning outwards. Now it's Mykolaiv, Mirnograd, Pokrovsk, Seladove, Hernik, Kurakhove, and now down here with the Ukrainians have also have to worry about the collapsing front in Vuhledar, like that. So the Ukrainians, what the Russia is doing here is that they're just giving Ukraine too many problems to solve. They just can't do it, because Vuhledar was the village keeping this whole front at bay. This whole front could not advance, at least not very well, because of Vuhledar. Its high-rise buildings, how defensible it was. It was a fortress in the middle of these open fields that could be held on, that could stop any advance of any army. But now that it has fallen, then this front has effectively collapsed, just like the Pokrovsk front and just like the Kurakhove front. And because of that, the Ukrainians are running out of places to call their fortresses or whatever. Like as Russia advances further west, there are less Ukrainian defenses. The 2014 defensive line they left that behind a long time ago. The last part of the Ukrainian 2014 defensive line to fall was right here south of Novelski, and they just abandoned it because they had to. The Russian forces were able to push through it there. Oh, we also have Ukrainian advancement right here. I forgot about this. Yeah, small Ukrainian advancement in these fields right here, not a big deal. So let's move on from that. But this is the situation for the Ukraine front at this point, is that it is falling apart everywhere in southern Donetsk. There's also pushing in central Donetsk. I think at this point, Russian forces have honestly given up on trying to capture. Because look at this. The Russian forces are advancing. Look at this on an even bigger scale. The Russian forces are advancing here pretty significantly. In fact, if we zoom out, you can actually see it. That's a big chunk of territory. Like that's a big chunk of ground taken out of this front right here. When the Russian forces were captured that area right there, that's a big chunk. That's a good chunk of ground. The Russian forces are advancing here, and in a long-term tactical thought process, you can think about this. They're pushing here. They're going to push for possibly Izium and Liman, or towards Borova. And actually, the front's too small. I can't see the whole front. There we go. So you saw that. Now down here, they're pushing in Toretsk. And after Toretsk, there's nothing but open fields and small villages in all of central Donetsk. And southern Donetsk, Russian forces are advancing everywhere down here, capturing. And again, after Pokrovsk falls and Kharkiv falls, there is nothing but wide open fields and small villages that will be open for the taking for Russian forces. I think what Russia has effectively done, they've simply forgotten, well, not forgotten, but they've given up trying to break through in the northern part of Donetsk, because northern Donetsk is way different than southern Donetsk. Southern Donetsk is fairly open, at this point, if they were still back here, then no. But at this point, this western southern Donetsk, then yeah, it's open fields, way easier to push through. The northern Donetsk, the whole thing is a fortress. Like you have these major cities up here, and then just look at the terrain around Chasiv Yar. Like this is why it's so hard to fight up here and so hard to advance. Like we see, look at same thing with Bakhmut. It was the same thing. We know how hard Bakhmut was for both sides. So Russian forces, what they're doing is effectively what they're trying to do is push this way and push this way to go around it. It's going to be very slow. We're talking. This could be months or years or never. Who knows? So of this actually becoming an accomplished goal, we don't. It could be. Maybe the whole front will just fall apart and it'll happen in a couple weeks, or it might never happen. But I think what Russian forces are trying to do is they're trying to encircle. If we're going to keep on talking about it, Russia is now pushing foreign strongholds. They're going to encircle the Ukrainian forces here. That's what they're going to at least try to do it. I don't know if it's going to happen. That's certainly an ambitious goal, but that's probably what their effort is. They're forgetting. They've forgotten about it, trying to advance onto this heavily defended northern Donetsk. It's just way too hard. Not worth it. Go around it, is what Russia is probably thinking at this point. That's your final update. We're going to go to the political updates now. Okay, so starting off number one, our very first political update is actually going to come all the way up here from Moscow. The United States Embassy in Moscow put a sign on their embassy saying, "We're not going anywhere," basically. It says, we're not going to go anywhere. So I'll put up on screen right now. So that happened last night. Moving on to other political updates from the United States. So, in October, Biden will convene a meeting of the Contact Group of Defense of Ukraine. The meeting will be held in Germany. So there's going to be a meeting about this in October. Next, we have the USA will provide Ukraine with long-range joint standoff weapon called JSOW, winged aerial bombs. The USA has provided Ukraine with significant defense aid in the amount of $7.9 billion US, and sanctions have been introduced against the Russian Federation. This is according to Zelensky. So Zelensky said this. The Bundestag today agreed to increase the funding of military aid to Ukraine in 2024 by 400 million euros. 400. We're talking millions. That's kind of like chicken scratch. I mean, it's not chicken scratch, but 400 million euros. I almost said dollars. Euros will not gonna last very long in a war of this scale. A war of like attrition like this. It's not gonna last very long. Oh yeah, I saw this. I saw this on the Telegram as well. This is very important stuff. The Biden administration was not impressed with Zelensky's victory plan. Moreover, they believe that the plan does not have a clear strategy for victory and is only a veiled The Biden administration was not impressed with Zelensky's victory plan. Moreover, they believe that the plan does not have a clear strategy for victory, and they only believe that it's a request for provisions of more weapons and the lifting of restrictions on striking against Russia. So, in other words, Zelensky gave this plan to Biden, and Biden's just like, your plan is not a plan. Your plan says, give me weapons and I'll fight harder. Is basically what your plan is. And it looks like even Biden might be getting a little bit not fed up, but like kind of seeing around the wall that like, hey, Zelensky, I think you're losing. Just like, you're losing, and me giving you more stuff is not necessarily going to change that. It takes more than just more weapons fueled. It takes more than just more fuel on the fire to overdo the fire, if you know what I mean. Is what I think Biden is starting to get at this point. I think as much as Biden supports Ukraine, I think even he is starting to say, like, we're not going to waste our money. Like, you have to show results to us. You have to actually have clear plans and you have to show results if you want more of our stuff, is what I think Biden is starting to get at this point. Trump said Ukraine is no more. Almost everything was destroyed. Millions and millions of people died. Millions and millions, maybe a million. I don't know about millions and millions, but he's saying He said Ukraine is no more. Everything is destroyed. It's a lost country. Is what he is saying, and it's not a lost country. It's not been totally wiped to pieces, but you can see the energy grid certainly has. The energy grid in Ukraine is very bad. That's been blown up heavily by Russia. They've been attacking Ukraine's energy grid, And yeah, Ukraine has been heavily bombed. These cities that Russia's been trying to take. Well, not most recently, but some of them are really being bombed to pieces. Vovchansk is a good example. That's totally annihilated at this point. President of Poland Duda said, if the Russian Federation attacks Ukrainian nuclear power plants, it will be necessary to intervene immediately. So the president of Poland is saying, if Russia attacks Ukraine's nuclear power plants, we're gonna go in. Maybe NATO will follow us, maybe they won't. But Poland's saying we need to intervene. We're gonna go in. And that might be World War III. Who knows? If that happens, it might be World War III, or it might just be Poland and Ukraine versus Russia, or maybe Belarus will get involved. So Belarus and Russia versus Ukraine and Poland. Maybe we'll see what happens. It's probably not going to happen, but the threats are being made. Russian president announced work on an independent payment and settlement circuit in BRICS to service all foreign trade. So more updates on the BRICS economic union led by Russia that Putin is announcing. The Czech president Peter Pavel said, "Victory at the cost of destroying half of Ukraine's population cannot be a victory." That's an interesting statement coming from a man like that. He's the president of Czechia, which is an extremely pro-Ukrainian country, and that's kind of a vague statement. It's not really quite clear. What is he trying to get at? Is that a pro-Ukrainian statement? Is that an anti-Ukrainian statement? He doesn't really make it very clear. What is he saying by that? Victory at the cost of destroying half of Ukraine's population cannot be a victory. Is he saying that, yeah, Ukraine, maybe you can still win this war, but half your people are dead, so you didn't really win? Is he trying to say that, hey, maybe Ukraine, maybe you should just give them to Russia? Maybe Ukraine, why don't you just give Russia those territories so you don't end up losing half your population? Maybe the Czech Republic, or maybe the Czech Republic, a very pro-Ukrainian country, is starting to say, maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe I'm speculating. I'm just speculating, but I'm just saying, from my perspective, what does that statement really mean? It's not really quite clear. No, he's not really clear what he means by that. But anyways, that is actually your last update for today. That is all your major updates. We've seen a lot of significant updates over the last couple of days. I'm glad I'm finally back, you guys. I'm glad I'm finally giving you more updates. Tomorrow there will be an election update coming out, and most likely there will be another Ukrainian map update as well tomorrow. So stick around for those. And I'm glad I'm back. Again, the last 4 days, was it 3? I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 days. 3 or 4 days I've been working like crazy. Just didn't have time for videos, but next couple of days I am definitely going to be able to get videos out probably daily, at least for the next couple of days. 3 or 4 days at least. I will be able to get videos out daily. So, thank you guys for coming around. This is your map update for the Russo Ukrainian war. I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. See you guys next time. Bye.